Hola, my name is Magombe Andrew from Coffea Africa, Uganda, an NGO founded in 2006 that provides secretariat to the Ugandan Coffee Platform. In collaboration with key private sector and public sector stakeholders, Coffea Africa Uganda contributes to unlocking Uganda's wealth potential through influencing policy and practice. This is mainly done through piloting innovative models for stakeholder uptake and popularization. Today, I'm privileged to take you on a tour around the Ugandan coffee subsector. The focus will be Robusta coffee farming practices and processing in Uganda. Well, a few people may know that Uganda is the second largest producer of coffee in Africa after Ethiopia. We are also the first largest producer among the Commonwealth countries and the 8th producer globally. Since we are discussing Robusta coffee today, it is worth mentioning that Uganda ranks 4th in terms of volumes as the world producer of Robusta coffee. We have two varieties that are commercially grown in Uganda, and this is Arabica and Robusta. And out of that, around 80% is Robusta coffee. And by the way, Ugandan Robusta is well sought after in the international markets. Commercial production of Robusta coffee in Uganda began way back in the early 1920s and has since gone through various phases to date. Currently, as a country, we are producing 6 million bags of coffee. That is Robusta and Arabica combined. I know for sure that this is about only 10% of the Brazilian production. But to us as a country, it is a whole 2 million bags, more than only what we were producing just a few years ago. In other words, coffee production in Uganda is really growing at an exciting rate of around 20% per year. That's really exciting to us. And we are not yet there. Uganda has set its sight on producing 20 million bags of coffee by the year 2030. And going by the current trend, we are really hopeful that we'll make it. In terms of importance, coffee in Uganda is also the most valuable export commodity, making up around 20% of the total export earnings of the country. The strategic importance of coffee for the Ugandan economy puts it high on the government agenda. Government has put in place the Ugandan Coffee Roadmap, which forms the guiding strategic document to enable us reach the 20 million bags. And Uganda Coffee Development Authority, UCDA, is at the forefront for pushing Uganda's coffee both locally and globally. Ladies and gentlemen, you may be surprised or not to learn that Uganda coffee sector has been fully liberalized for the last 30 years. To be specific, this was in 1991. This therefore implies that producers, traders, exporters, and other stakeholders operate in an open market, although they have to comply with the minimum standards set by the Uganda Coffee Development Authority. So one would ask oneself that, where is all this coming from? In what context is this? To proceed, we can say, we say Ugandan coffee is grown almost exclusively by smallholder farmers. And if I say smallholders, I really mean smallholder. That's to say, an average coffee farmer, Ugandan coffee farmer, has between 200 and 2,000 coffee trees. And in the upper range, which is the 2,000 trees, your neighbor may look at you as a large-scale coffee farmer. This implies that when we are talking of large scale, one needs to put it in the context of a given country. So we have small coffee farmers who are around 1.7 million of them. And these are the ones who contribute to the production of the Ugandan coffee entirely. Most of these farmers grow coffee alongside and in between other crops. It is therefore mixed stands with coffee, banana, and other fruit trees are a very common feature in the Ugandan coffee sector. To the farmers, this is a very well thought out strategy to spread their food and financial risks. And automatically, this means coffee densities are often much lower in Uganda than in many other countries. Having explored the situation in Uganda, we need to have a look at the Robusta coffee varieties grown in Uganda. It is important to note that since 2009, Government of Uganda has released and promoted 10 clonal Robusta varieties, which are referred to as KR1 to KR10. These are high yielding, and besides this, they are resistant to the coffee wilt disease, which has been a major limiting factor to the Ugandan Robusta farming. The adoption of these new varieties is gradually picking up among our coffee farmers, with the key limiting factor being limited capacity for rapid multiplication, coupled with the relatively high cost of the clonal seedlings. In the meantime, a significant number of farmers still have the old clonal Robusta varieties and the Robusta elite varieties, both of which are susceptible to the coffee wilt disease. Spacing. In terms of spacing, as regards, we have in pure stands, we recommend a spacing of 3 meters by 3 meters, which is 10 feet by 10 feet. This gives a plant density of 450 trees per acre. And in mixed stands, where we have bananas grown, as shown in the picture, our recommended spacing for coffee remains the same as mentioned above, but the bananas are intercropped at a spacing of 6 meters by 6 meters, which is double the spacing of coffee. However, as first mentioned above, an average Ugandan coffee farmer has less than the recommended optimum density of the coffee trees per acre. It is important also to note that our research organization is not resting. Trials are being done by the National Coffee Research Institute, NACORI, aiming at increasing coffee tree density per acre. Now a look at the situation of the existing old trees. What you may have noticed in the previous picture is the aged trees with many poorly fruit-bearing branches. Probably, this is one of the most pressing issues in Ugandan production systems, i.e., we have a large number of overgrown and under-bearing trees. Our measurements as a country show that these trees produce less than 300 grams of green coffee per tree, while the optimum yield in Uganda for small Robusta trees is more than 1 kilogram per tree. Closing this yield gap is actually our shortest route to reaching the 20 million bags by 2030. The Uganda Coffee Roadmap shows that if we can manage to reach 300,000 farmers with a targeted renovate and rehabilitation message, which we are referring to as R and R message, Uganda will have doubled production in 5 years. A look at the shade tree system. Given this era of climate change, weather extremes, shade is really very important in coffee farming. For Robusta coffee farming in Uganda, we have a number of recommended shade trees species, which include mainly the ficus species, Albizia coriaria, and Cordia africana. The selection of these shade trees was based on their not being alternate hosts to major pests of coffee, and their ability to have quick decomposing leaves with minimal competition for nutrients and water, among others. Once established, it is important to note that it is very necessary to carry out proper pruning of the trees to allow sufficient aeration and light penetration. Otherwise, they might turn out to be a problem to the coffee once not managed. With respect to pests and diseases, just like any other crop, Robusta coffee in Uganda faces the challenge of pests and diseases. Among the key insect pests, we have two major ones that pose a great challenge. This is the black coffee twig borer, which causes drying of infested twigs, causing up to 50% yield loss once countermeasures are not put in place. You can see the pictures of the twig borer and its damage as shown there. The second pest is the coffee berry borer, which causes defective damage to green berries, which is green beans called FHU, and this causes significant damage ranging from 50% to 100%. The effects of the damage are shown in the picture. Integrated pest management countermeasures are being promoted among farmers as the key countermeasures. As regards diseases, our major disease threat to Robusta coffee in Uganda is the coffee rot disease. Farmers are, however, being advised to plant the 10 new Robusta coffee varieties, which I mentioned above, which are very resistant to the coffee rot disease. This is the current trend that government is doing to phase out the old clones in preference of the new ones which are resistant to this disease. Let us briefly explore the harvesting and processing of Robusta coffee in Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, coffee harvesting in Uganda, unlike other countries like Brazil, is done by selective hand picking of the fully ripe cherries. And this is done in 2 seasons. The picture there shows how the picking is done. Strip picking of the cherries is discouraged. However, some farmers still do strip harvesting, and some do a bit of fully unripe cherries. Efforts are, however, underway, spearheaded by the Uganda Coffee Development Authority in collaboration with other key stakeholders to continually educate farmers on the recommended farming practices. Now, once harvested, the red ripe cherries are either dry processed or wet processed. Important to note is that dry processing is the major form or major method used in coffee processing in Uganda for the case of Robusta. This involves drying of the cherries on a tarpaulin under the sun or on concrete floor without removing the pulp to a recommended moisture content of 11 to 13%. The pictures can show how the drying is done. You can see that. This results into chiboko, which is either sold or milled at a coffee factory to get FAQ, which definitely fetches better price. Wet processing, which involves a relatively lengthy and slightly costly process of floating, pulping, mucilage removal, and drying to get parchment is mainly used in Arabica processing. We look at the price. The price of Kiboko coffee, which is the unmilled dry Robusta, costs an average of 2,200 shillings per kilogram, which is about $0.6 US. Whereas that of FAQ costs 4,300 shillings, which is about $1.2 US per kilograms. Farmers are encouraged to sell in form of FAQ in order to earn better prices. That is the trend, actually. Farmers in Uganda can also get market information remotely on their mobile phones from the Uganda Coffee Development Authority by sending a text message. The message can be sent saying Robusta, and you send it to 71, a code which is 7197, and in return, the market price will be accessed by the farmer in a return message. This provides an indicative message of the coffee prices, both Kiboko and FAQ, across the various regions, major coffee growing regions in the country. Thank you very much. I hope this gives you a picture of the Ugandan coffee situation. You are invited to visit Uganda for a better appreciation. Thank you for listening to me. I would like to wish all the participants at the 10th Conilon Farmer Symposium a successful conversion. God bless you all.